All right, let's get it. Kind of an impromptu late live stream, later than I usually do it. I don't really care who's going to come in. I have a feeling this is not going to get many views. It is what it is. I had to address what I watched last night, what we all witnessed in the Knicks-Pistons Game 5, a game that was entirely winnable, and a game in which the Knicks absolutely blew with clock timeout mismanagement, the forcing of Jalen Brunson, even when he obviously didn't have it, and we're going to get into that with Jalen Brunson, and obviously with the Knicks refusing to give OG Anunoby the ball. It's been a tough day, especially after all the stuff that's come out with Tom Thibodeau saying whatever. I mean, I need to gather my thoughts here. This is the point of doing this live stream, to yell and scream about this, and also to give some measured and calm takes, because that's what we do here. I'm not here to just scream at you and tell you how it is. Like, I'm here to discuss. And of course, I'd like to get in. If you'd like to get in the conversation, just drop a comment down below. I'll answer as many as I can get to. But last night, the Knicks, man, I mean, it is so unfortunate now this series is going to 6, because it's not like I felt like the Knicks had a chance against Boston, but now going to 6 games in such a physical, hard-nosed series, it gives me even less hope the Knicks will even put up a fight against Boston. Either they get gentlemen swept or they get swept outright. That's where I'm at right now, and that's even if the Knicks get past the Pistons. There's no guarantee the Knicks won't blow this series, and it sucks to say, but that's the reality of the situation. So here we are on April 30th at 3:03 p.m. after the Knicks blew. I'm gonna call it like it is. It was the worst loss of the season. It was the worst loss. It's not like the Knicks were up 15 or 20 points and then blew the game. It's just that they had so many chances to go up in the game, yet they did not do it and did not capitalize on any of them. When you look at being, the fact that they were up 1 point going into the halftime break, the Knicks at one point, I believe, were down 11 to the Pistons in that third quarter. It's now the 5th straight terrible third quarter where they were outscored by the Knicks. That's inexcusable. I don't even know what the hell Tom Thibodeau tells them at halftime. Like, is there any game adjustments? Is there any motivational speaking? Or is it just Tom Thibodeau telling him, yeah, hey, you guys are playing a good game. Let's keep it up. Let's continue with the – what is going on? Like, it's something they need to fix. They need to fix fast. It's not like this is the first time. And I understand this Knicks team kind of like – they bucked the trend there. We've known the Knicks is like the third quarter Knicks, how many leads they lose in the third quarter, fourth quarter, going back 10, 15 years ago. We already got some comments. Screw it. I'm going to put them up. With Bistics, this is my guy. Pain all morning. Man, just pain. Yep. Just a mid-coach for uber-talented teams. He's a floor setter, not a ceiling raiser. Has dudes ISO on offense all game and runs the plays. I'm going to get to that in a little. Mental lapses by Thibs will be why we never truly contend. This roster isn't being maximized, and Thibs is doing nothing at halftime. Yeah, that's a good point. They just talking about post-game plans and ordering food during halftime. Yeah, I mean, I know you're kidding with that, but yeah, I can't even deny that. I can't even tell you that's untrue. I don't know. None of us know. And I guess I'll start with Tom Thibodeau's timeout mismanagement starting at the 5:01 mark in the fourth quarter. Cade Cunningham gets fouled by Jalen Brunson. Cade Cunningham hits the first free throw. Tom Thibodeau calls timeout with 5:01 remaining in the fourth. This is the key timeout. I don't understand why he called it then. I'm pretty sure that coaches can only call, they're only limited to 4 timeouts in the fourth quarter, and a team could only use 2 timeouts in the last 3 minutes of the fourth quarter. So Tom Thibodeau calls this timeout with the Knicks down 1. In my opinion, a completely unnecessary timeout, but he calls it anyway. All right, maybe to let the team regroup. Well, what happens the next 45 seconds? Cade Cunningham comes down, hits a 3. It's a 5-point game. Tom Thibodeau calls a timeout because the Pistons are on a run. He wants to stop it. That's with 4:17 left. Okay. The Knicks have 2 timeouts left now. Then, a minute and 20 seconds later, Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart get hurt, and Tom Thibodeau needs to call his third in his last 2 minutes and 4 seconds. So 5:01, he called the timeout. 4:17, he called the timeout, and then 2:57 to get Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart out of the game. So Josh Hart goes to the locker room. Who knows what the hell happened there? He seemed like he was fine. coming back out, going to the scores table. We saw Jalen Brunson hunched over by the bench. Who the hell knows what happened with him? Maybe they gave him another crazy injection and he's back. I don't know. All I know is that they both go to the scores table with about a minute. I want to say a minute and 56 seconds left. And what happens is they sit at the scores table for a minute and 10 seconds. The Knicks finally call timeout with 45 seconds to go in the game. So you're sitting there watching the Knicks, and they go to the scores table down 6 with 47 seconds left. They were still down 6. So it wasn't like them leaving the game, changed the game. They got a few major stops. They put Campaign in the game. They put Deuce McBride in the game. They, for whatever reason, the two possessions that stick out to me in that stretch were Cat taking the ball to the basket with 5 seconds left on the clock, getting blocked by Tobias Harris, one of the worst shot attempts you'll ever see. And then Campaign breaking down the defense, getting into the paint, hitting back iron on a floater. Obviously, you don't want Campaign taking any shots in the last minute and 30 of any quarter, but especially the fourth quarter. So that happens. The Pistons don't score at all. It's still a 6-point game by the time the starters are all in the game. And Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson are put back in the game. Okay, fine. The Knicks come down. I believe that was the Bridges 3 to cut it to a 3-point game. They come down. They fouled. I forgot exactly how this happened, but they fouled Schroeder. He hits both free throws. They throw the ball down. OG hits the 3. It's a 1-point game at that point. And from that point on, it was an insurmountable lead. The Knicks, of course, lost. I, for the life of me, cannot understand how an NBA head coach burns through 3 timeouts in 2 minutes and 4 seconds. 2 minutes and 4 seconds. You use 3 timeouts. I understand the one call to get Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart out of the game. That makes sense. I get it. Josh Hart was on the floor in serious pain. You got to call the time. Fine. But you shouldn't just have one timeout after that. Because you called the meaningless timeout when Cade Cunningham makes his first free throw to make it 91-90. That was the one that makes really sense to me. I get calling the next one 40, 44, or whatever the hell it was seconds later when Cade hit a 3 and made it a 5-point game. I get that. 4 minutes and 17 seconds left. You want to get your team regrouped. And after that, you still got 2 timeouts. I understand that. But those guys got hurt. Tom Thibodeau's hand was forced, and he had to call his second or his first of his remaining 2 timeouts. And at that point, that severely, hampered this Knicks team because both those guys get hurt. He has to burn that timeout. There's only one left. And for the life of me, I cannot understand how Tom Thibodeau just didn't burn that final timeout. And you live to fight another day if those guys come in and they don't help you win. But with 1 minute and 45 seconds left, your best players are sitting at the scores table. You need to get them in the game. Like, if someone has to take a foul, fine. I understand that sends them to the free throw line, but they're back in the game. Obviously, that didn't happen. Tom Thibodeau doesn't call the timeout until around 45 seconds remaining to go in the game. Like, this is my thing about it. He still used the timeout. How many times do we see this in the NFL? And one instance comes to mind. It was the Thanksgiving game between the Lions and the Bears, in which Matt Eberflus, and he's fired the next day because of this. They have a chance to go down and win the game. He doesn't burn the timeout, and 40 seconds run off the clock, and they lose the game when they should have won it. He gets fired the next day. That's the one thing that comes to mind, but we see it all the time in the NFL. With coaches refusing to burn a timeout till 20 seconds go down on the clock, then they're finally like, you know what, I'll call it now. Fine. That's exactly what we saw last night. Because people want to say, oh, no, I get it, Tom Thibodeau. Of course he didn't want to burn the timeout. He still burned it. He still called it. They did not get a dead ball stoppage. Of course, J.B. Bickerstaff was not calling timeout there. Of course, the Knicks were not going to take a foul because that sends them to the free throw line because they're in the bonus. So none of that happened. And the Knicks are still down 6, whatever the hell it was, when those guys come back in the game. And at that point, with 47 seconds remaining, it's an insurmountable deficit. And that's the game. That's the ball game, folks. They come back in with, it's a 6-point game. Bridges scores a mid-range shot to make it a 4-point game. Oh, I'm even wrong. They put those guys back with 27 seconds remaining. They were at the scores table for 1 minute and 30 seconds. How unbelievable is that? How unbelievable is that? And here's the thing. I keep mentioning this because, it's like, I think the Knicks will win the series. I'm not going to sit here and tell you they have no chance to win it. The Knicks win tomorrow night. If the Knicks win tomorrow night, let's think about it. Because I just got this tweet sent to me. Ian Begley just tweeted. Boston versus New York Knicks will be played May 5th, 7th, 10th, 12th, and then the other 3, obviously, if necessary. But May 5th, if the Knicks win tomorrow night, they will have Friday, Saturday. So, okay, you know what? I'll take that. Because originally I saw some beat reporters put out there that if the Knicks won tomorrow, that game 1 of the Celtics series will be played on Saturday or Sunday. That's not the case. The Knicks will get 3 full days off, which I guess gives them a good chance to get back healthy. I don't know, because they win the game, and it's still another physical, hard-fought game. Any one of the Knicks starters can go down with an injury. I'm not trying to speak that into existence, but what happened last night? The Knicks desperately needed to win that game because they cannot go through another extremely physical game. God forbid one of those guys gets hurt. They have 0 chance against Boston. Listen, I'm going to, right now, if I was a betting man, and I don't know what the odds for Knicks Celtics are going to be, and again, the Knicks have to get to that point, but in the hypothetical scenario that both those teams match up, the Knicks are probably going to be plus 600, right? And some of my friends in here who bet could probably, I'm usually good with determining lines, even though I don't really bet much. But if you're out there and you bet and you have a better idea of what it could possibly be, drop a comment down below. But if one of those guys gets hurt, it turns from plus 500 to plus 1,000. Like, it seriously becomes a situation in which the Knicks are going to have a miracle to beat the Celtics. Like, I don't think it's impossible for them to beat Boston, but I'm going to give them a 5% chance, even fully healthy. I kind of got into a few Twitter arguments last night about this with people saying, oh, if the Knicks win in 6 or 7, it's okay. It's still a win. They still won the series. Compare both these teams on paper. Look at who each of these teams employ. The Knicks defense has been the best it's been all year because the Pistons have one guy who can create for himself. One. They have one high-level NBA scorer in Cade Cunningham who turns the ball over 5 to 6 times a game. So your turnovers caused number is inflated. And the Knicks still, of course, not able to capitalize on the Pistons' lack of talent and idiotic mistakes throughout each of these games. And if it weren't for Karl-Anthony Towns, I'm not going to say prayer, but long contested 3-pointer at the end of game 4, the Knicks are down 3-2 going to LCA. And if it wasn't for a blatant no call at same game, but whatever, you catch my drift. Like, there were 2 instances where the Knicks could have lost that game. They could have lost game 1 as well. So they could potentially have already lost the series if things went the Pistons' way. It should not have been this close. This series should not be nearly as close as it has been. I know hindsight's 20/20. We could sit here and say, oh, yeah, well, the Knicks, if they did this so-and-so, they could be in a better position. But, like, I watch these games, and I'm, like, sitting there, and, like, I could not tell you how the Knicks could give themselves a better chance to win this game with the limitations they have with the head coach, with the unfathomable Brunson hero ball that I see on a nightly basis. Like, we're still doing this in late April? We still think that Brunson hero and iso ball down the stretch of games is going to win you anything? Come on. You had, and this is my biggest thing. This is why the Knicks lost this game. Besides the shooting 16 for 27 from the free throw line, you had 4 misses from Mitch. I don't count those. He sucks. It's okay. He played an amazing game last night, by the way. We really ruined and wasted the best game that Mitchell Robinson has played. He was absolutely dominant. Besides a few times where he caught a rebound and wasn't controlling the ball well enough and threw the ball away or whatever, Mitchell Robinson was the best Knick last night. and an absolute difference maker. And I'm not going to sit here and walk back what I've said in the past about Mitchell Robinson not giving the Knicks a better chance to win against better teams. Yes, he does. But you can't expect this on a game-by-game basis from him. Yes, every once in a while he'll have an amazing game. He'll be a threat on the offensive glass every single game. But you can't expect him to be that good offensively as well. He scored 11 points. I'm assuming that's his season high. And I don't think it's particularly close if I had to guess. But last night, my big 13 points from Mitch, actually. So I even better. But my biggest takeaway from last night is offensively. And my friend, I guess I won't reveal exactly who you are, but 2025 NBA champion says, we've outgrown Thibs, who's a culture coach, needs someone that can actually draw plays. And this is my biggest gripe with Tom Thibodeau. Is down the stretch of games, he largely relies, and again, he's one of the most clutch players in NBA history. You could say that. The clutch player of the year, might be the most clutch player in Knicks history. In Jalen Brunson, he relies on him to just go out there and create. He gives him this long-ass leash to be like, you know what? Do whatever you want, Jalen. I'm not going to draw up any plays for you. I'm not even going to send Karl-Anthony Towns to set a screen and roll or pop. It doesn't happen. It makes no sense to me. You have two of the best offensive talents in the NBA, yet you don't use them in the two-man game. It is incomprehensible. It makes no sense. So with that aside, with the Brunson hero BS, garbage, mellow ball, who was the number one guy in the first half who was able to get what he wanted offensively? Who was the one guy? Point aside, stats aside, Karl-Anthony Towns scored 11 points in that first half. But you know who the other guy was? Who was the reason why the Knicks were up 1 point at the half? It was OG Anunoby. The Knicks finally started going to OG. And finally, for what feels like the first time this series, drawing up plays and getting him open in space and allowing him to drive to the basket and finish in contact like he does so well. He has 11 points at halftime. 5 for 10 from the field. He was the Knicks' best option offensively in that first half. And you think okay, OG, first off, OG was the MVP of the game. I mean, it was Mitch and OG. OG was unbelievable on the defensive end, especially in that first half. What can you say about the guy? Where would this Knicks team be without OG Anunoby? Say what you want about him being an overpay. From what he's shown you, I don't think he's that at all. And he was, knock on wood, pretty healthy this season. Obviously, before the All-Star break and a little bit after, it was the only time he really missed this season. But OG has been a top 2 most important player for the Knicks this year. I think he's been more important for the Knicks than Karl-Anthony Towns because of what he did when Jalen Brunson went down. OG Anunoby in the second half, and I'm going to try not to lose my collective you-know-what. Guess how many shots OG Anunoby took in the second half? After going 5 for 10 with 11 points in the first half and being the only guy seemingly who was able to get anything offensively that he wanted. 3 shots. 3 measly shots. And in the fourth quarter, when the Knicks offense got stagnant, instead of giving the ball to OG, and I was shouting at the top of my lungs, give OG the ball every single possession. Every possession. Feed the hot hand. Everyone knows that that's the right move. In middle school, AAU, high school, college, JUCO, you name it. Isn't JUCO football? I don't even know. You catch right in any sport. You feed the hot hand. The Knicks, for whatever reason, this entire year have not done the obvious thing. And instead of Tom Thibodeau calling a timeout and be like, hey guys, we got a player in OG who's hot as hell, give him the freaking ball. OG gets 2 shots up in the third quarter, and then in the fourth, doesn't have a shot until the final 30 seconds when he hit that Hail Mary of a 3. That was the one shot he took in the fourth quarter. He plays over 8 minutes and gets 1 shot up. 1. When he's by far the best player offensively and defensively for the Knicks in the first half. Again, you could point to a multitude of things as being the reasons why the Knicks lost this game. You could point to the free throws. You could point to Tom Thibodeau's idiotic decision to call a timeout with 5 minutes and 1 second left when Cade Cunningham was at the foul line. That was the biggest mistake, in my opinion, that Tom Thibodeau made, not calling the. I mean, yes, he should have called the timeout at the end, but he shouldn't have been in a position to have only one timeout left. So, with that all being said, number 3 is Jalen Brunson's hero ball at the end of the game. I mean, I don't care how clutch he is. What part of, if you let other guys create on their own and they start scoring, Jalen Brunson is going to start getting more open looks? Do they not understand? Like, the offense will open up if other guys are balling. If other guys are getting what they want on the offensive end, guess what the defense has to do? The defense has to respect said player who's going off offensively. OG Anunoby was a decoy on the offensive end. Tom Thibodeau threw him back out there, and he played the last 8 minutes of the fourth quarter, and he said, play defense. We are not getting you involved whatsoever offensively, even though he played extremely well in that first half. So all those things being said, that is what I am most disappointed in this game from the Knicks. And what I've been most disappointed in them all season long. This isn't just a playoff issue. This is a Knicks, a Jalen Brunson, and a Tom Thibodeau issue. In that, in big clutch moments, the Knicks do not succeed when Jalen Brunson iso ball is the one way they try to score. You know, do it every 2 possessions. Do it every 3 possessions. Be my guest. Go for it. But to do it every single time down the floor? Man, I mean, I don't care who Jalen Brunson has on him. I don't care if it's Malik Beasley. I don't care if it's Dennis Schroeder. I don't care if it's Tim Hardaway Jr. I don't care if it's me. This simply does not work over long periods and stretches of time. It's proven. It is. I don't care. Like this is what the stats tell you. That Jalen Brunson is not going to be able to score every single time down the floor. I don't care how hot he is. Over a long period of time, it does not work out in Knicks' favor. Sure, in short bursts, you want to give him the ball every time down the court for 3 minutes near the end of the game because he's playing extremely well, fine. But the Knicks did this in Jalen Brunson's worst game this postseason. Worst game. He was atrocious. Terrible. I don't care what the plus minus tells you. I don't care that it was a -1. I don't want to hear it. I look at his game score, which is a 5.8. The worst in the Knicks starting lineup by far. I look at Jalen Brunson missing 3 free throws in this game. It's unacceptable. And I look at it going 4 for 16 from the floor. I don't care who he is. I don't care what award he won this year. I don't care how much people trust him to turn it on in the clutch. A guy who shot 25% from the field, 4 for 16, 1 for 4 from 3. That's the guy you're going to every time down the floor at the end of a game before he gets hurt. Like, who's to say that if Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart don't get hurt and they stay in the game, that the Knicks win the game? I don't think that's the truth. That's a certainty. That's 100%. They could still lose that game. Because what it looked like before Jalen Brunson got hurt is the Knicks had no offensive game plan besides to clear out and let Jalen Brunson do his thing. And that's what he did. And he scored on the N1 where Asar Thompson hit his hand. You got Pistons fans complaining about that, of course. They've never seen a foul against them they like. And then after that, Jalen Brunson comes down. And the Knicks are able to get 2 stops. Jalen Brunson forces up 2 shots. The Pistons come down and extend the lead. Like, in a crucial situation like that, in a crucial moment like that at the end of the game, you cannot keep going with what isn't working. Like, yeah, congratulations, Jalen. Congratulations that you scored on that pull-up shot and Asar Thompson hit him, and he was able to hit the free throw and won. Terrific. What did that make him? What did that make him? 4 for 13? It's inexcusable. The lack of offensive game plan and scheme from Tom Thibodeau down the stretch of these games. And like, I get that you want, like, you know, shooters shoot. You keep shooting. You see the ball fall through the basket. And that could change everything. But speaking of that, you got Karl-Anthony Towns, scored 17 points, was in foul trouble the majority of the game, had 5 fouls. There is nothing that angers me more for this Knicks team than Karl-Anthony Towns not getting 5 or more threes up a game. Like, how many times do the Knicks need to see it help them win before they actually just say, F it? We're going to give Karl-Anthony Towns the ball in space. We're going to run screens for. When was the last time you saw a screen set for Karl-Anthony Towns off ball? Has it ever happened this year? I don't care if he's 7 feet. I don't care if he's the center on the court. He's got quick feet and he's agile for his size. Let's say Tobias Harris is on it. You set a screen. You send OG Anunoby to set a screen on Tobias Harris. You have Karl-Anthony Towns curl. He could be wide open for 3. If he isn't, he gets a mismatch, and he's able to take it inside for the easy layup. The Knicks don't do that. They don't do the easiest things. They don't like winning. Man, it's just like there's nothing that pisses me off more than watching this Knicks team fall into the same patterns that have brought them so much despair and disappointment. My friend Evan Jacobs got a very funny Twitter picture. Philip cracked out in that picture. But you still wouldn't trade Brunson for Giannis. I wouldn't. I still wouldn't. I trade him for Jokic. Trade him for SGA. You trade Brunson for Giannis. Like, I think value-wise, of course, Giannis is worth more. But with how this team was built, they made Jalen Brunson the captain. He took that discount extension. This is his team. It was supposed to be built around him. You acquire Giannis. This team isn't built correctly for Giannis. They don't have enough shooters in that starting lineup for a Giannis-centric team. That's why I wouldn't trade him for Giannis. And Evan says also this. It's built to be a second-round exit every year. Listen, I think their talent is unbelievable. How about building for a champion? Well, to get that championship, to get to that point, and I'm going to go back to what Bistic said earlier. Yeah, here we go. This is what he said, and I completely agree with this wholeheartedly. Just a big coach for uber talented teams. He's a floor setter, not a ceiling raiser. He set the floor. He has set the floor, and it's higher than any Knicks team since the 90s. It's even higher than the team in 2012, 2013. That's objectively true. He also set the floor for the Bulls when Derrick Rose was playing like a top 3 player in the NBA. He also set the floor for a Timberwolves team that had Cat and Jimmy Butler on the team. Look at what Jimmy Butler's been able to do everywhere he's been. Carry his teams further than anyone has expected them to go. The Heat in 2020, the Heat in 2023, what we're seeing with the Warriors and him completely changing the trajectory of that team. The second they traded for Jimmy Butler, everything turned around for the Warriors. Tom Thibodeau wasn't able to do anything with him. So, I mean, we're at this point where, you know, you start to see it getting exposed on a level like this against the Pistons team, who obviously has a lot less talent than the Knicks. But just wait to see it next series, if and when they get past Detroit and they face Boston. I mean, how many times do we see it in the regular season? You know, in that game, the last game where Tatum hit the 3 to tie the game, Jaylen Brown was playing at like 60%. He sucked. You see Jaylen Brown sucking right now? Nope. The Magic are not, you know, they're no laughingstock. Yeah, the Celtics lost the game to them, and the Magic played most of these games close, but the Celtics' talent showed. They are built correctly. as evidenced by them winning the championship last year. It's just very unfortunate that we went from the Knicks having championship aspirations at the start of the year to now saying, well, if they beat Detroit in 7 games, that's a win. Like how far the bar has fallen. The bar right now is to put up a competitive series against the Celtics if they get past the Pistons. That's the bar, realistically. In terms of, hey, we don't want to have to completely change, the makeup of this organization, specifically with the head coach. You got to make the series against Boston competitive. You got to get to Boston. So that's where this Knicks team's at. I'm infuriated. I'm sure plenty of other people are out there who did not have good days today. Man, it sucks. It sucks because the Knicks had a golden opportunity to close out last night. And instead of closing out, they're going to have to play another physical matchup with the Pistons in Detroit. And it's not like the Knicks, didn't have success. They won both games in Detroit, but, we saw it last night. The Pistons got a lot of calls. People want to blame the goaltending on Tobias Harris that should have been called the goaltending. And, yeah, it was a goaltend. And that resulted in an N1 for the Pistons, 5-point swing. Yeah, the Knicks win that game if it goes the opposite way. But also, if that play gets called at the end of game 4, the Pistons win that game. So I think it's even. I think the Pistons got a lot of calls last night, and hopefully it's called right down the middle tomorrow. I think with all the complaining, we saw it last year in the Sixers series, last year in the Pacers series. These head coaches aren't dumb. They know by making a whole scene in these post-game interviews and essentially forcing the NBA's hand, they'll get more calls. I don't think they're that up in arms about this being, wrong, like badly officiated. Like you watching these games and JB Bickerstaff is flipping out. He's the worst challenger in the NBA. Like he's terrible. I can't believe he screwed up again last night. Very obviously a foul on Cat. But I think it's strategic. And I wish Tom Thibodeau did the same. It would also come off as extremely soft and pathetic, but it has its fruits. It works. So the Knicks tomorrow night, I'll be doing something else. I'll probably do a pregame for that. Why not? Going to be discussing that. And yeah, I hope the Knicks can close it out, but we'll be previewing that tomorrow. So stay tuned. I don't have anything else to say. It was really bad last night, and they should have won. Give the ball to OG. Whoever's playing well. Mikal Bridges can't not do anything in the first 3 quarters. He showed up in the 4th quarter. Was that enough? No. Too little, too late. The Knicks need to figure it out. They need to go to the hot hand. It's that simple. Give the ball to the guy who is playing the best offensively, or the guy that you trust to turn it around the most, and not the one guy who has completely limited your offense throughout the year, Jalen Brunson. Yes, he's risen this team to new levels, new lengths. Fact of the matter is, with this talent gap, these games shouldn't even be close enough for Jalen Brunson to take over in the clutch. Like it's damage control at this point. Evan says, this is the last thing I'll put up. We'll discuss this. Knicks need an alpha male head coach like Pitino. Even Evan kind of cooking, but Pitino probably too tough for our fragile play. He's too tough for the NBA as it is. He's also too old. He's good enough in college. I like Budenholzer. I would do anything for Jay Wright. I know a lot of people out there, oh, he's not proving it. Get Jay Wright. The Knicks will win a championship. Just look at how far Villanova has fallen with Jay Wright leaving. It's not like they have a lack of players. Jay Wright was just the best coach in college basketball, best recruiter. He already has a rapport with 3 of the Knicks players. So, all right, we'll see. And we'll continue to discuss this tomorrow. Stay tuned for that. And go Knicks, I guess. Peace.